Hello, everyone, and welcome back to another episode of the Tech Your Business podcast. Have you ever thought of what happens to your memories, to your photos, to your voice, to your videos when you pass on? You know, a lot of us live our lives digitally these days. We take a lot of photos, we take a lot of videos, and probably you change your device, your mobile device or something, and it's gone. Everything, your memories are all gone. It's happened to me before. In short, before mobile phones were invented, I had a lot of hard copy photos, and at this moment, I have none. Today, we are speaking to James Gebhardt. James Gebhardt is trying to solve that problem of losing your memories. James Gebhardt is the founder of MyArkit, and MyArkit is an online digital archival company which preserves our legacies and the legacies of our loved ones and friends. So 2, 3, 4, 5 generations later, they'll be able to look at our images, they'll be able to laugh with us, they'll be able to listen to us, and our memories are going to be preserved. Because at the end of the day, we all want to be remembered. So today on the Tech Your Business podcast, James Gebhardt is going to talk about MyArkit. Welcome to the show, James.
Oh, thanks, Peter. Thanks for having me on. Good morning from Nigeria. Actually, it's good night here from Washington State.
Wow. No, I can never wrap my head around this time thing.
No, I don't work on it. How many time zone differences? I don't know.
Yeah. So tell us a bit about MyArkit, the mission, the purpose behind it.
Our whole mission and purpose is we now live our lives digitally. I mean, we have phones, computers, tablets, and everything we have as a good memory is going to be digitized, basically. You know, you can make some great photo books and things like that, or they're really great to have. I still make them. But there's that part about passing on some of your digital memories to your next generation. And we have it all digital now. We have the technology now where we can do that. We don't, 50 years ago, we basically were still working with print film, and you're basically handing down a photo album. And there's been so many times I've seen photo albums get really old, or you just forget who's who in a photo album. And sooner or later, it's going to be stuck in a closet and just someday just thrown away at a garage sale or something. So we make it possible for a person to have a lifetime account so they can put their best memories, what their, and their best events and stuff out throughout their life, and preserve it and hand it down for their kids' kids to kind of relive what great grandpa Peter was like back in the 2023.
Yeah, and like I really relate with that, because I know growing up, we used to have these photo albums with the photos and all that. I even know when I was younger, I had a camera where you take the photos, then you have the negatives, and you have to go develop them, and all those things. And the funny thing is that there was a point where I had mold in my house, and all my photos are gone.
Oh, yeah. There was a lot of. I've moved a lot of times, moving from state to state. We finally, landed here in Washington State, and there's just so many times I can remember old memories, old photos, and it's like, what happened to them?
Wow.
Did they get stuck in stuck in a shoebox somewhere? They got stuck out in the shed somewhere that got thrown away at some time. And even if you still have those old memories, you can take those out and give them to your kids and don't say a word, and then they have to figure out what those memories mean. And basically what it means is it's an old picture. And the same thing we have now is you could have thousands of memories on your phone or your computer, and they can scroll through it, but it really doesn't mean anything unless you put a memory to that.
All right, so tell us a bit about your history. What originally sparked the idea for MyArkit, and how did your personal experiences shape its creation?
Oh, we kind of had back in about 96, 97, probably the best memory to start with there is we did a road trip with my girls as a family, me and the wife and the girls. We did a road trip back to Iowa, where I grew up. And I sat my dad down outside his cabin. He kind of lived out in the country. And I just started asking him questions about his childhood. And he said, "Hey, Dad, what was a gallon of milk like? What was your favorite candy or something? You know, when did you learn to ride a bike? Your first car?" He was a paper boy that delivered newspapers for many, many years. He actually
Wow.
saved up enough money to buy an old, I think it was a 37 Chevy. And it was he was 16 years old and was 1 year newer than what his dad was driving. And it's funny. And then he was in the Korean War as a mechanic stationed in Japan. There's a bunch of old good stories there, and just great stories. Some of his feelings about, you know, life and things like that. And then a couple years after that, he passed away, but I had those memories. And then it's like, what do I do with them? So I burned them onto a DVD disc. I don't even think we had DVD back in those days, just CD disc. And so I had those. And now you go forward now about another 10 years or so, and it's like, what do I do with that? Where's it at? My kids are now growing up, you know, I can show grandpa again and things like that. And then I had to find the parts of the video and try to piece it back together, because all the parts were like maybe in a different computer that was on a different operating system. You know how that goes.
Yeah.
And I was able to finally get everything together again. And it's about the same time I also sat my my mother and my grandmother down and got some life stories out of them too. And then I also inherited, well, they actually found it after he passed away, after his wife passed away. They found the actual old photo album, family photo album, that was in the garbage. And it was like, oh my gosh. And luckily my cousin was great about that. She took a whole bunch of pictures of those and put some information to them. But now I'm able to put that onto MyArkit, and now we can share it across family lines and also share it for generations. So it came to the point where about 10 years ago, I was just sitting around eating a ham sandwich in my work van. And it's just, it got to be a different way of being able to preserve these things, upload them, preserve them. Technology kind of had to catch up, because very hard to upload anything on the internet, but it's really easy to download, especially back 10, 15 years ago, especially 15 years ago. And so I just kind of came to the idea that, you know, we can make something like this to help people do that. And that's why I just started brainstorming. And then finally one day, probably about 2.5 years ago, I ran into a guy, somebody that knew somebody from one IT guy that knew another IT guy, that finally had an interest going, you know, that sounds like a kind of a good idea. And finally it clicked with somebody going, yeah. And so I was able to hire him to program it up. And now it's up and running, and we're just having a blast with it.
Nice. So what's the difference between MyArkit and the normal digital photo album?
That's online. Oh, like you could take like a cloud storage, things like that.
Okay.
Cloud storages are great for backups. I mean, especially I do them all the time with my Chrome, my Google Chrome and things like that. If I have a computer go down, I can go to my other computer, still log in, and all my logins and everything is there. But there's a big but there. If you don't touch your Google account or your Apple account, or even some of these accounts for 180 days, maybe up to 2 years, they have that little caveat of being able to go click, you're deleted, because they don't think you're around. While you're around, you're worth something to them, because, you know, they're throwing advertising and everything at you. And, you know, they'll hopefully be able to get you to use some of their services, which I do. I appreciate their services, but they're not in there for the longevity of it, to where, you know, 3 years down the road, it's just, I wish I could get into grandpa's computer and maybe, or his we haven't touched it for a while. Is it still there? You can go click and say, what happened to all those photos that were in there? You know, I think I had a good friend of mine that had a Facebook account, actually it was cousin, and somebody hacked his account.
Well,
And stole his identity, and he had the darndest time trying to retrieve everything, and he was never able to do it. So he had to start all over again with you know, his own new identity and put everything, not everything, but he had to totally start over again. And we're getting to the point now where with MyArkit, we can sit there as we grow, we're going to have multiple layers of backup, even with separate companies. So going from one to another is almost going to be impossible. You might get hacked, but you're not going to get through, you know, 3 or 4 or 5 layers of where your information is going to be stored.
Interesting. So what are some early challenges you faced turning this idea of MyArkit into a real business? I know you talked about internet upload speeds having to catch up and so on, but what are some other challenges you faced?
Technically, or just technically, it actually wasn't too hard nowadays. I mean, it's a simple concept, and I can say you hire people that program it, and of course we're expanding with different services, and we got new services in my brain and stuff where we're going to add on there. About one of the hardest things we get into is we're trying to save the human condition by trying to sell it to the human condition. And it's one of those things where since it's so new and it's people think it's going to be, going to be there for a very, very long time, but it's like, they don't have some people will boom, get it and start using it. Other people say, oh, I got to do that. A couple years down the road. Oh yeah, I still got to get into mine and start putting stuff into it. Oh my gosh. And I've had people, I had another cousin was diagnosed with pancreatic cancer about a month and a half, 2 months ago. And she had passed away in just about a 3-week period of time. So you never know, life has an expiration date. We just don't know when that is.
Exactly.
And if you have the capability to do certain things like this, it's nice to be able to, you don't have to do everything at once, but it's nice to start putting those memories in. And the great thing about what MyArkit does is we do audio also. You just don't put a picture. You just don't upload a picture and say, there's a picture. I hope somebody figures out what it is. Or you can type in a story, which is cool. That's fine too. But we also have an audio button where you can click and you can record the story to that picture. And that's what I really like. Or I just like talking to my phone as a recorder and downloading that as, I could be walking the dogs and just come up with something like the first time I learned how to drive a car, or first time seeing a Star Wars movie or something like that, or seeing the previews to it. I guess the vivid memories of certain things that happened. Where were you when Elvis died, type of thing. And so it's just, I just put them down there and I just upload them as an audio.
So this is basically a new idea, and MyArkit is an early player in this space. So how did you go about finding the right technical talent to build this for you?
I got this big fly running around, so if you see something zipper, it's like you got to get right in front of it. It's like, oh my god, it's huge.
What do they call it?
Say that question again. I was getting dive bombed.
All right.
I'm sorry. What was the question again?
All right. So MyArkit is a new concept, and you're one of the earliest players in this space. So how did you go about finding and collaborating with the right technical people to build this for you?
Well, actually, what they do is they actually buy 10 gigabytes of storage space. So basically, they take control of their 10 gigabytes of storage space. And that's kind of like creating your own website, so to speak. So they get to choose who gets to see it, who they can collaborate with back and forth with pictures and things like that, memories.
Okay.
So it's totally up to them. I couldn't get into one if I had to, unless I had the password to it. It's very cool. And we want to try to keep it personal for people until a person passes away. And then, their executor clicks the button and turns it into a memorial site, anything that might be clicked private will become public. Because at some time a person does pass away and we don't want to just never be seen. I think it's going to be kind of cool, let's say in 50 years, 100 years, it'd be kind of interesting where people, you know how you read an old book of somebody talking or something from 100 years ago, you want to see what those people are like. We have that capability now of saving us. Well, gosh, 100 years ago, we actually had movies, but nowadays we're going to be able to kind of like mine back, people mining back, 100 years ago, and listen to somebody, listen to your great-great-grandfather talk about, his car, the price of a gallon of milk, all these little things that, his great-great-grandfather talked about. But now we actually have a little bit of either video or just an audio or put a story to a picture. It's going to be great to kind of get that feeling. We lose that, that attachment to, the generations, to mother and father, grandfather, and things like that. It seems like after a while, I have no attachment to my great-grandfather. I don't even know if I ever met him, if he was even alive. I have a little bit of attachment with my grandfather, of course, with my dad, but my kids, if we get this going, my kids, they're going to have much more of an attachment and an understanding of what I was like than my father was. Even though I do have a video of him.
True. So do you work with your team remotely?
With my team?
Yes.
Yeah, we tried. When I first was thinking about this, it was just coming on to where everybody was. I've been in a lot of businesses or seen a lot of businesses that have a whole bunch of their servers and stuff in their building or in their business. Well, we've gotten to the point now to where one of the companies we work with for our main servers and things like that is Amazon Web Services. So we have cloud servers. We don't have to worry about anything breaking down or having to upgrade things. Things are automatically done in a cloud server environment. And that also brings down the cost of what we're doing. We can keep up with technology and grow as we need it. We're doing really good. We call up Amazon Web Service and they make us a deal saying, yeah, we'll kick on a couple more servers or whatever it takes, which is really great. We don't have to, and I remotely work with my IT team, and I also remotely work with we have a new affiliate marketing team coming on board from New York City, and everybody's remote. We can work from different spots in the world. I want to be able to get into different countries, and we can remotely work nowadays.
So why did you choose Amazon against other cloud providers?
Well, number one, they're local.
Okay.
They're actually from the Seattle area.
Yeah.
Yeah. They're local, and you look at the statistics or the how they're rated and what they do. Amazon is rated #1 for what they do. They've become huge in what they do I know it is over in Nigeria, but over here in the US, they're the #1 for providing this or providing that. They expand out, Amazon, especially with their shipping and their, things they put for packages and all that kind of stuff, and you can buy things. But we figured they're #1 at what they do. And when we actually expand over into our third tier of backup is of Iron Mountain, and they are best at what they do. They work with about 95% of the Fortune 1000 companies here in the US with basically backup banks. They even have underground storage facilities where they have trains running through. Where someday I want to be able to put our final tier of backup will be digital, but it will not be a magnetic format. It'll be some kind of a format where we're burning it into archival disks or something like that, to where if it sits there, it can sit there for a couple hundred years and it doesn't even degrade. And we have it in a spot where temperature is constant, humidity is constant. Global warming won't get to it.
Really true. So you said you work with your IT team and your affiliate marketing team that's coming on remotely. What lessons have you learned working remotely, and what advice do you have for business owners operating remote teams?
Oh, with working with them?
Yes.
Ask a lot of questions. You kind of get to know, you have a certain, you like to see the final project.
Mhm.
Okay. Once you peel back that layer and watch them trying to program, that's when my brain explodes. You know, it's like watching a plumber plumbing your house. It's like, I have a pretty sink. I want the sink to work, you know, and then he opens up all the plumbing underneath and said, oh, I got to put this in there and that in there and get this to work. And says, okay, just make it work.
I don't need the
It's like one of those
details.
things, right? And what it is, you take information from them because it's like, oh, I'd like to be able to do this. And then you find out, well, because of bandwidth or the way we're doing something, things like that, that might be financially not possible, right? Oh, just ask
Yeah.
lots of questions with your IT guy, because certain things you want to do might be hard to do. It's not the right way to do something with how you got things structured and things like that. It's just like you ask a lot of questions, try to get what you want, and just have good communication with your IT guy
Hmm.
or
Okay.
IT team.
Yeah. All right.
And
So
don't, oh, biggest one right there. Don't freak out when something goes bad. Because
and
I used
something
to,
always goes bad.
well, I used to have things where something would glitch on me and I'd go, and probably about 99% of the time, it was something on my end that had to deal with my browser. I had to clear my
Oh.
cache. We were working with Safari a lot because I love Macs, but we maximize what we're doing with Google Chrome because
Chrome.
about 65% of the computers and browsing is done on Google Chrome. So we try to maximize for the best. So, you know, I went for 2 or 3 different browsers trying to get everything. I still get that glitching. Why does that still show up like that? And it's just the littlest things. Something will be this small on one browser and this big on another browser. And it's like, how does that happen? Isn't it supposed to be totally the same? And it's like, no, it changes from browser to browser. So, you know, we try to get everything as best we can.
True. All right. So for managing MyArkit, for communicating with your team members, for managing projects and tasks, what technology tools do you use?
Oh, for managing how we get things done.
Yes.
When we were really into the thick of things, doing a lot of making sure this was done, how to get that done, things like that. Besides just doing normal emails and texting, there was a good program called Monday.
Oh.
Yeah, have you heard of that? Yeah, that was actually a great tool because I would think of something I wanted done. I could put it on there and I could put a you know, immediate to be done, you know, moderate to be done. This is something I want done sometime in the future. So those, you can throw all that out there and all I got to do is click on it and say, oh, he's got something else he wants done. So, and that was a great little program to have Monday.
Yes, I think I've played around with Monday a bit too.
Yeah, it's a good program. So you can throw anything on there and you can assign different tasks to different people and you can click done or it's in a certain process of getting done. And so that was very helpful. And we're at the point right now where we're kind of holding still with what we got. We build it to another stage and then everything will break loose again because I have a bunch of more different things I want to do. And then we get into a whole bunch of programming again for a next phase. We want to get into phase 3 or 4, whatever it is now. It'd be phase 3. Yeah.
Yeah. All right. So for other non-technical founders who want to build complex things like you're building now, how do you recommend that they approach recruiting, communicating with, and working with developers on these ideas?
Oh, recruiting the like the programmers or the IT people?
Exactly, yes.
I kind of lucked out on that because I did ask a lot of different people if they would do something like this. And some people kind of go, and you know, I finally found somebody, Dave and Lindsay, that basically he used to work and did some programming for Disney. So he's done websites for Disney and some for other movies and stuff like that. So, and then basically he has his people that do the main programming. So I kind of lucked out. I found somebody good and then wanted to take it on. And I was very, very lucky for him also. to where he was very local. He only lives probably 5 miles from me, which is very, I kind of live out in the country a little bit south of Seattle, but you know, I didn't have to work for anybody out of, you work with who you're comfortable with.
True.
And the big thing I would also say, if you're going to develop something on the internet, it has to deal with a website, make sure you get the rights to it. Because some places will program you or program what you want done, which is great. But a lot of times you look at the fine print, they own that. And you're basically renting it off of them. Even though you pay them to produce it, you really don't own it. And that's one thing I made sure about what we're doing is I want MyArkit to own what we're programming. Yeah.
Interesting. So what's going on to marketing? What kind of marketing and partnerships have you used to drive adoption and interest for MyArkit?
Everything. Simple answer. I really keep up on social media. We're on Facebook, Twitter, and Instagram, and I feel those are about the three biggest platforms. Facebook probably being the biggest. I used to do some email newsletters, but we got big enough on our newsletter part to where it costs you to send an email out when you're over so many people, and then you go over so many people more, it costs you again. True. And then some people say you can also send out a text, almost like an email. That also costs more money. So I try to streamline things down as narrow as possible, still being able to communicate with people. So I basically told everybody, communicate with your people by having them be on social media. And they don't have to follow everybody, but you can send a tweet out to, 10,000 people showing what you're doing and what we're doing, and it gets to everybody. And it doesn't cost you anything. You're just on Facebook, click on my group or whatever, or on, MyArkit on Facebook. You put it out there and everybody's got it. Good way to communicate, and it's a inexpensive way to communicate.
True. Really true. So social media and email and everything, like you said.
Yeah. Email is good, but like I said, after a certain point, you're just spending money, and then you only have probably about 18-20% of the people open up the emails.
Yes, very true.
So any advertising out there, they always say, what was it, the power of 7, where you're going to have to put something in front of somebody's face about 7 times before they even kind of go, maybe I want to go ahead and take a look at this. and the marketing nowadays is, I also think we're in kind of a transitional period to where a lot of the stuff on social media is saturation. How many times we look through things on social media and we just basically blow right past it. We're just looking for something that's entertaining. True. And so it's, we're working with the affiliate marketing, and we can adjust that and see what kind of pinpointing marketing we can do. I'm always into new different types of marketing. We might try, I always want to try radio. I haven't done that yet.
Yeah, like they say, it's only when you try that what works and what doesn't work.
Yeah, you keep trying, keep your face out there, you keep people kind of remembering you, and sooner or later it's. I just had a good friend just today. I was looking at Facebook, and I had a friend of my brother's. My brother passed away, I don't know, 6 years ago or so, and he used to be with the group. He's running around with my brother. My brother was 2 years older than I was, and I can still remember the guy. And he passed away just a day or so ago. And one of the things his younger sister put on there, he said, I wish I would have had more videos of my big brother. And it's just like, he's been probably looking at my stuff on Facebook probably for the last 2 years. I keep telling people, don't waste time. Get some of these memories. Tell people you love that. I'd like to sit you down, or just shoot the breeze with you, and just get something.
Exactly.
Yes.
So what are your thoughts? Throughout this year, we've been seeing AI everywhere. So what are your thoughts on AI?
AI. There was actually I was listening to a podcast. A guy he was going through AI, and then he also went into AS, which I think artificial smart intelligence. And then there was one level above that, which was, but he didn't have a problem with it. He said, basically what we're going to do is we're going to get down to where you might want to like program a website to look something or work some way. And you put in some basic parameters, it'll do the programming for you. But it's a lot of that stuff, it's only putting out what you put into it.
True.
So a lot of the AI is going to make certain things better. And it's kind of like computers when they first out. I can remember Apple's, gosh, it was just like, it can do a spreadsheet. Actually, I can remember I have a book. It was one of my little short little reading books type of thing. They had a quote from IBM, you know, International Business Machines, IBM, way back in the, oh my God, it was 40s or 50s or something like that. And somebody came up with the idea of personal computers, and they said, why would anybody want a personal computer? And it's just like, you got to think outside the box, you know, get outside the box and think. They didn't even want to have people, when Alexander Graham Bell started doing the telephone, people said, why would somebody want a telephone in their house where somebody can reach them at any time, you know? So we're kind of thinking outside the box. We got to get, people have to get used to what we're doing and see it, use it. And same good little story here with Mercedes-Benz. Mercedes, back when they first had their first vehicle, wasn't really selling that well until his wife took a road trip. First one to really take a road trip. I can't remember if it was with her daughter or what, but she drove the old little Mercedes. It was, you know, you have to see the very first Mercedes, went from point A to point B, going through these little towns, and people were amazed about what they see. So, you know, you got to kind of just, whatever you're doing out there, you got to keep pushing, letting people know what you're doing, try to make it better. Listen to your customers, you know, listen to your heart. It's also a big thing.
Sure. All right. So what's in the future for MyArkit? New features, in the next few years, what do we expect to see?
Oh, we'll be on Mars by then. Actually, one of my big services I want to add, well, we have one service, besides MyArkit being, you know, 10 gigabytes of your of storage space, and that's actually worth a lot, you know, thousands of pictures if you want to. I got probably 600 different entries in mine, and I've used up 2 gigabytes. So you have plenty of space in 10 gigabytes. Just don't be putting in 25 megabyte pictures. You don't need them. And we also have events, events.myarkit.com, which is where a person can be like having a wedding or going to college. And then you have your group of people. I was just at a wedding. We used it for the wedding just 2 days ago. And everybody can sit there and take a bunch of pictures and little videos and things like that. And they're participating in the event. And now you can just, boom, you download it right to that event, to the one, you know, the person who bought the event, and they get to choose what goes on to the event. And then it's shared back to everybody that was in the event. Real simple and easy. And the same thing, you can have a really good picture of, or you can even just tell old stories about the bride or groom. You could have pictures and stuff of what they call it, the bachelor party or the bachelorette party, things like that. Or when you first met, how he proposed, or all these different things. You can have that in the event for your wedding event. And then you can pause the event and then start it up again. Let's say for your 10th year anniversary.
Wow.
You have these little things you can actually keep adding to the event. I have an event with my with that photo album I was telling you about, the family photo album. You know, there's hundreds of pictures in there, old brown pictures of stuff. But that's an event where now my whole family can actually go to that event and show people within the family, because, you know, it gets bigger and bigger and bigger as time goes by, of who's in the event. But the new program I'd love to have would be family tree. We want to incorporate a family tree to MyArkit, to where somebody can go click and make it really simple. I really want to make it simple for kids to understand what's a cousin or a great aunt, things like that. And also have that incorporated to where you can put a little bit of basic information. Like some people ask you, hey, is there diabetes in your family? You can actually try to map in some medical situations within your family, so you can actually maybe see if it's more genetic, if it was a one-time thing. Doctors are always asking things, but little things we can try to have a really secure. Second, I was going to have a really secure folder put up there too, to where a lot of things we do legally nowadays are done online. And it'd be nice to be able to have a secure folder area. Always have it with your lawyer or wherever else, but if they have a copy of it where people can get to it and they can kind of, if certain things you need it, there it is. And we got another program we're going to do. When you hit help, it's not just going to go to a help screen where you have some different things that might help you with certain things. We're going to have a whole website called Lifesaver U. So where it goes into helpful videos with people looking for how to do MyArkit digital, legacy, but also dealing with material legacy, how a person maybe can keep their house or, pass on things of memory to their kids without paying, taxes and stuff like that. And then we also have a thing going on that called the Soul Train, where people have looking for spiritual connection within their life, to where, people that search, let's give them some different pathways to start that search. But, those are just some things off the top of my head I want to do.
Yeah, so basically it's going from just photos and videos to your life, archiving your life digitally.
Yeah.
Yeah,
nice. It's one more, I think it's, how certain people do certain things. It's, well, what do I find out about this? And I'd sit down with a financial planner, and she says, you just can't say, I'm going to give this Rolex, if I ever own one. I don't know if I'll ever own one. They're kind of big, but it's like, I might give this to my cousin. Well, they have to physically have it in their hands, and they just can't have it written down. It goes through a whole bunch of legalities over here in the US, and it goes from state to state, certain legalities about who gets to own what and when, and the properties and things like that. So it'd be nice to be able to have some of those questions answered, at least have links. That's my big thing, is links and guests and stuff like that, and articles where you can find out about these certain things like that.
Interesting. So is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners? Today we've talked about working with developers remotely. We've talked about MyArkit. We've talked about your tech, Monday.com, your tech you use in managing the business. So is there anything you'd like to share with our listeners who are mostly business owners on, maybe they have an idea like you do, how to get it off the ground? Maybe they've gotten it off the ground, how to get it in front of the faces of the people that are going to use that. So is there anything you'd like to share with them?
That's an open-ended question. Yeah, because we have, there's a lot of people out there that are what they call the venture capitalists, and people that invest in not a lot of times in ideas, but they like to see things more, working type of thing. So I always have, I have good memories and bad memories of venture capitalists. I would love to be able to find somebody that invests in what the idea is, and let's make it work type of thing. Other people can be very harsh about. First time I remember going into downtown Seattle, up in the Columbia Tower, 70 floors up, and there was a big venture capitalist meeting, and people there showing their talk, doing what they call a 5-minute presentation type thing. And the guy listened to my stuff, and he said, I'm not going to give anything to my kids, blah, blah, blah. And first thing that came to my mind is he has trouble with his teenage son right now. So he's not relating to what I'm doing.
Exactly.
So, yeah. And the biggest thing is if there's so many different avenues out there of there's people online, that's always iffy. But it never hurts to throw the bread upon the water and get information back. You start getting information back from different people, we have a lot of different, let's say, online clubs or online things that where a person could actually tell their idea to a venture capitalist or somebody an investor, and see if they're interested in it. And there's sometimes within the community, there's different places you can go to and listen to other people in business. That's a very important one, is where if you can get any kind of a mentor or go to go to a meeting where people do like business meetings and they start talking about, you know, because if you have a product, that's a totally different concept about, you have to develop a product, market it, sell it, produce it, type of thing. And the actual marketing of the product is totally different than making a product. And that could be, that's a whole hassle in itself. But you know, you start looking, and there's people out there that'll help and are willing to help all over the world.
True. Very true. All right. So if our listeners want to reach out to you, they want to speak with you, they want to work with you, they want to download MyArkit, how can they reach you?
Oh, just go to MyArkit.com. And it's just go to the bottom and hit contact. And or you just go to Noah at MyArkit.com. My nickname is Noah.
Oh,
from the
from
the Noah's Ark. Yeah, that's how we kind of got the name MyArkit and Noah. But yeah, if you're into any one of our websites or look at anything, it always has contact at the bottom. Or you can go to Facebook, Instagram, or Twitter, either one of those, and just type in MyArkit. You'll find us and zip me a question. And at the same time, if you go to MyArkit.com, we have a 30-day free trial to where we don't take any bank information. You can try out and see how we're doing things and things like that. And I love feedback. If somebody says, I wish you could do this or do that or type thing. And I always take those into consideration. If we need to tweak something or make something better, I always write it down, especially for people over in Nigeria. Come on.
Yeah. All right. So thank you so much for coming on the show. Thank you so much for sharing your experiences in building MyArkit. And for the listeners, thank you. Yeah.
Thank you. Thank you very much, Peter.
And for the listeners, thank you for being with us up to this point. I hope you picked one of the things on launching your product. I hope you are motivated to save your legacies for the next generation on MyArkit. So until next week, when we come with another episode of the Tech Your Business podcast, don't forget to keep taking your business, and don't forget to listen to older episodes if you haven't. You're going to learn so much from them. Thank you very much, and bye for now.
Bye-bye.